Before I continue in the book of Acts and the vision that Peter had, I need to answer a question. I missed it. Somebody a while back asked me about Matthew chapter 17, the transfiguration of Jesus, and that there was Moses and Elijah appeared talking to him. And the question was, well, if they were talking to him, doesn't that mean they are still alive? Good question. Well, first of all, if you read on, you will see that Jesus said to them in verse 9, "Tell the vision to no man until the Son of Man be risen again from the dead." It was a vision, my friends. Now, a vision is not a photo. A photo would be Moses. Photo would be Elijah. This is a vision. A vision is movable. A vision is not a still photo. And so Elijah and Moses and Christ, in that vision, they could well have been moving. Their clothes could have been moving. You know, back in those days, they had long flowing garments. And in a vision, they could have been moving. And in a vision, Moses and Elijah could be talking to Jesus. Now, let me give emphasis this way to it. We dream. And in fact, I had a dream about 2 weeks ago. And you know how dreams are kind of mixed up and they can go back in time and whatever. Well, in this dream, there was a friend of mine and we had a car. And the car wouldn't start. So the dream was back in the days when you could sometimes push a car into starting. So this car of ours won't start, and we're talking to each other, and we're saying, well, let's push it, see if it will start. We're on the flat ground. We pushed it and it didn't start. And then we said to each other, well, let's try down a hill. Maybe it's got to go faster than what we can push it. So we find a hill and we go down and it still doesn't start. And then we say, well, we're talking to each other. And we say, well, we need to find another hill. And so we find another hill, but it has a curve at the bottom and we're starting to push. And then my friend shouts out, look out, there's a car coming up from down below. And so we stopped pushing. And so forth in our conversation, and we tried 2 or 3 hills to push this car, and we're talking to each other. And finally, I say to him, well, I think we better get Hans, the name. This is a man that we knew decades ago, and he was a car mechanic. And I said to him, well, we better find Hans and see if there is something wrong with the motor here that can be repaired by Hans. Now, this is a dream, my friends, and yet we are talking to each other in a vision. It's the next best thing to reality. The next best thing to reality. And there is talk. And so it is not unusual in a vision, as like in a dream, to have these people talking to each other. And that is the answer to why Moses and Elijah were talking. It was a vision. It was just like the dream that I explained to you, and I'm talking to my friend, literally talking to him in my dream, and deciding that eventually even the man that we knew decades before, Hans, should come and maybe repair our vehicle. And so a vision is the same thing. It is not a still photo. It's a vision. There is movement. And indeed there is then, in this case, with Christ and his transfiguration, there is Moses and Elijah talking to him. But it's a vision. It is not reality. Moses and Elijah are still, my friends, dead. Very much so, dead. And I've explained in different videos on this channel of mine, I've explained many times the truth about death, the truth about Moses and Elijah, the truth that Jesus said, which most people seem to read right over. Jesus said in John, the Gospel of John, chapter 3:13, no man, no person has ascended to heaven except he that came down from heaven. And of course, he was referring to himself, because Jesus was the God of the Old Testament. And he did come down to this earth. He came down, Genesis chapter 18, and met Abraham and had a meal with Abraham. He came down and he wrestled with Jacob. There are a number of times it is said that Moses was a friend of God, that he talked to him face to face. Jesus was the God of the Old Testament. And he came and he said, no man has ascended to heaven. Now he should know he's been in eternity in heaven with the Father. He should know. And he said, no man has ascended to heaven but he that came down from heaven, meaning himself. So Moses and Elijah are still very much dead and waiting, as all the rest of God's children from Adam are waiting for Jesus to return to this earth and for the resurrection to take place, when all of those children of God will be alive again via a resurrection. Moses and Elijah are still indeed sleeping in death.